All righty. Thank you, Jeff. If you want to call up the agenda, our first order of business is to approve the agenda, and then we'll approve the minutes. So I'll see if anybody has any comments on the agenda. All right. Not hearing anything or any shouting of hands, so consider
Mr. Chair, this is
Go ahead.
Max Appleman. I just wanted to make sure I was caught in the attendance sitting in for NOAA Fisheries.
Max, thanks very much. Is there anyone else that I missed that needs to identify themselves?
Jeff, I have hands from Jay McNamee and Bill Gorham.
Jay, welcome back.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm here. Just wanted you to know.
Thank you. And Bill, go ahead.
Yes, sir, here.
Perfect. And Julie's already jumped in here, but just a minor housekeeping item. We do have Julie helping with raising hands as we go through this. And I didn't make a slide for the agenda or past minutes, but you've got the materials.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And I'll say just, Jeff, Julie, just jump in when you have to indicate a hand is raised. And it sounds like we're up to date on everybody that's here, and sound check's all done, so we're good there. No comments on the agenda, so consider that approved. And the next item for consent is the minutes from October 2020. Anyone have any objections to approving those by consent?
John, I have Jerry Morgan's hand raised and also Richard Cody.
Okay, go ahead, Sherry. Did Sherry comment?
Yes, Jeff, I'm in.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
And then Richard?
Yeah, John, I just had a minor edit to the minutes for the October meeting, just related to the acronym CFAR. That's all. It's just a small edit, nothing content related.
Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. Julie and Jeff, did y'all note that, and you'll verify the acronym?
Correct. I'll take care of that, Richard. Thank you.
Any further hands?
You're good?
All right. Thank you very much. Then we'll consider the minutes approved with that edit and update to the Sapphire acronym. And then the next item is public comment. So if any members of the public would like to make a comment, please raise your hands and we'll recognize you.
I have no hands.
Okay, thank you very much. Then moving on into our first item of business, this will be Jeff going over the program and project funding items. So Jeff, you want to move into the presentation, please?
I've got it. Thank you, John. Maya, next slide, please. Today's briefly review what our October primary motion was in support of the funding, and a reminder to those who are on the call as well. The items were really to approve the proposals, but to have the leadership team review the ACCSP administrative grant before approval, and also discussing the savings of prior years and to redirect those through the leadership team and bring that back to the coordinating council. And so those three areas of funding are our primary business today. And go ahead to the next slide, please. So the first item, with the change in John moving up to chair in October and Jason McNamee as vice chair, was reconstituting the ACCSP leadership team. And so the membership, for everyone's awareness, is listed on screen. And we had 2 calls in the middle of November and December to make progress on the items from the October meeting. Next slide, please. And so for today, we've got the 3 major bullets, and this is the order I'll be covering them. First part is really the 2016 to 2020 funding extension. And so next slide. We updated the projections through December, and we had some savings on things like VMS project and overall encumbrances and costs for the program and staffing, and over the course of 2016 through it's actually February 2021 that it ends, but the bulk of calendar year 2020. And we projected about $324,000 remaining. And so part of that is going to need to be spent on projects that were previously approved and are just taking a little bit longer to complete. And really the highlight item there is a South Atlantic Council and North Carolina fish release application. They've been having meetings virtually with a contractor right now, and there's some app development pieces that need to get done. And instead of being able to complete that by February 28th this year, that's been extended with the timeline of June 30th. And so maintaining that prior approval of a partner ranked project is the first $95K. Another discussion item supported by the leadership team was completing kind of the New Jersey 2021 maintenance proposal for their staff to have the full year, which adds a few months and about $9,000 cost. And then the primary one is the Safest Help Desk support. When the council met in October, it was unknown whether the NIFWIF proposal for $280K would be approved, and unfortunately that was not. In the meeting materials, there was a little bit of a highlight on that, and the rationale that we received back from NIFWIF about they thought it was a valid and useful task, but that the funding would not be best supported through the NIFWIF process. And so refocusing here, the use of extension funds of about $220,000 for the Safest Help Desk. We have a portion of that will be covered by the ACCSP 2021 admin grant. We're a little bit short, and but the $220K we believe will support the process. There's been a few hundred help desk calls in January already with the rollout of Sapphire and new Safest e-trips reporting applications and online systems. So that uptick in activity is certainly true right now. We're hopeful that the 220 will cover us through the remaining portion of the year. And so that takes up the kind of extension timeline with specific projects that will be able to move forward on with the extension. That helps keeps the granting pieces clean. And while that's the focus of this piece, I will add in that we've had, I think, about almost 900 trips already submitted in calendar 2021 through eTrips. And so that's a a big nod to the success of all of the partners in the Seafire rollout, as well as other activities that are occurring in commercial and for-hire fisheries going up the coast. So with that, I will pause and ask John to lead any discussion or questions on the admin grant extension.
All right, so thank you, Jeff. Anybody have any questions so far?
I have Richard Cody.
Sure, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, Jeff, I was wondering, I mean, you mentioned about 900 trips so far reported in e-trips. That seems like, quite a few given how early we are in the year. Do you have a feel for how that compares to, with previous years? Amount of activity.
We looked at it briefly. It's definitely an uptick in what reports are coming in through e-trips. But of course, Seafire added 6,000 fishermen. So it's a higher number, and we're still, we're aware of, several hundred other trips coming through other vendors that we expect to have entered into the system in the next week or two. That'll cover January. So it's a significant uptick in terms of user base and trips coming in. On the other hand, it's certainly not stressing the computer systems.
Yeah, thanks.
Julie, any others?
I have no other hands.
All right, Jeff, I think you can move on to the next slide.
Next slide, please, Maya. This is a highly shortened version of the long admin grant proposal that was provided in the supplemental materials. As you recall, the October Operations Committee and advisors supported option 1, included both the backfilling of the data team lead and the addition of a software team member. Alternate option 2 was not to add a software team member at this time and leave some additional funds there for contract software development and support. And through the discussions with the leadership team and some suggestions of where we could find some savings, and what happened with the Safest Help Desk, as we just talked about, we came up with kind of an option 3, which is kind of the lowest cost overall, highlighted in green on the screen, the 2122916. That does backfill the data team lead position, which is fantastic. We've got that out and are working on an approach for that. It delays the software staff addition pending some further justification of what the trade-offs are between staff growth, capabilities to handle things in-house. What happens when we release all these different software products and we're calling on partners to review those? Not every partner has time to review things at the schedule of the releases, and so what are the kind of the timing and the outreach and the cascading handoffs that occur out to the partners because of that? We reduced the help desk support by about $30,000 in option 3, and again, we'll save a little bit of funding on some travel and some reconfiguration of internet line fees, which had to do with implementing our FSMA regulations and requirements in a more flexible and cost-effective way. So we're not losing capability. We're just finding a new way to do it that costs less. And so with that, I will pause again and ask if there are questions on the details here.
All righty, thank you, Jeff. So if you have questions, go ahead and raise your hand.
I have no hands raised.
Okay. Jeff, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, we'll take that as good news that we're doing our jobs right here. For looking forward to our third funding item, the 2021 project support item. So here we've filled in the admin grant at the leadership option 3. We are expecting level funding through National Marine Fisheries Service, Sustainable Fisheries, and Office of Science and Technology. And a big bonus and thank you here to the state of Florida, who recognized that they were not able to complete the headboat sampling due to COVID and had some in 2020, but also had a little bit of savings from prior years, and were able to deobligate and return approximately $150,000 to the program. And that allows kind of a redirection of the reason the South Carolina and the Southeast Fisheries Science Center portions are there is we're trying to be efficient and not bouncing money through too many accounting hops, and as it goes back to the Southeast Regional Office, kind of have that get pushed back out to other Southeast projects that are coming up to start in the next fiscal year. So it's the South Carolina one actually starts in, I want to say September. And so we do have time to redirect those types of things. And therefore, there's the potential and suggestion to support all of the maintenance and new proposals from last year. And the blue coloration is kind of a suggestion of how we technically go through it. But Maya, next slide, please. What we've done here is highlighted in yellow where the admin grant ended up. There is a GARFO administrative fee that gets added into that, or added to that. And with the return funds from Florida, we highlighted the 3.56 funding level, and those light blue projects are the functional suggestion of how that would help out and redirect. But that leaves us, if we focus our eyes on the column second from the far right, the 3.56 amount remaining, we have the capability to fund all of the maintenance and new projects. And we've heard from Rhode Island that they'll be able to be successful in the economic efficiency project with just a slight decrease in the funding there. So with that, I'll ask for any questions. And John, we've prepared your request for a motion when you're ready to move to the next slide.
Okay, yeah, sounds great. So I did ask that we should probably get a motion to approve this admin grant, given that it wasn't approved in the earlier October motion. But we are able here with this proposed admin grant level, as Jeff is showing, to achieve the other aspects of that motion, which is full funding of the projects for 2021. So Julie, any questions, any hands going up yet?
No, sir.
All right. So I think it is good that looking closer into the admin grant and making a few of those changes has allowed us to fully fund 2021, and I think resolve the issues raised by the council back in October. So if no questions to be had, I think go on to the next slide, which is a proposed motion, and hopefully someone will make this to officially wrap up the admin grant values.
Mr. Chair, I have a hand from Cherie Patterson.
Okay, Cherie?
Good morning. Yes, I would like to make that motion if I can get a second. Let me read the motion. Motion to approve the 2016 to 2020 administrative grant extension tasks as presented and approve the revised 2021 ACCSP proposal at $2,122,916.
And I had a second hand go up by Mel Bell.
All right, thank you very much, Cherie and Mel. Is there any objection to the motion?
I have a hand raised from Lynn Fegley.
Yes, Lynn, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. My hand should be down. I actually raised it to make the motion or second, so I'm going to try to lower it now. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Lynn.
I have no other hands.
All right, so hearing no objections, that motion stands approved. Thank you, everybody. We have an admin grant approved. So
Excellent. Thank you, John. And I just wanted to, that really concludes our major items, but if you'll give me leeway to, since we have a little bit of time, there were, it was an intent not to go through a full program update, but I will note that last week we put out a committee newsletter that had information on what the committees have been and are about to be doing, and included a fair amount of information on the program activities. And so I just call your attention to that. And if there's any questions, I think we've got time to entertain those. And one of the other things we've done as kind of a minor item, to prepare for the RFP, and every year the ACCSP staff pulls together a calendar of events that includes all the different council and commission meetings as well as the ACCSP items. And this year we're really trying to take work that we do and make it a bit more useful. So we've put that calendar, instead of a static document that we tend to forget about, actually populated that onto the full ACCSP website calendar. It includes things like the beginning of our fiscal year, when the RFP dates are, as well as when the commission meeting weeks, the council meeting weeks, and ACCSP committee meetings are slated for. And in places where it's going to happen sometime that month, those meetings are listed as the first of that month and will shift as the doodle polls and other things are coming up. So just a highlight on activities we're doing, but didn't want to take a full time for a presentation during this particular meeting.
all right, yeah, Jeff, thanks. I think that effort was nice. It certainly shows the many, many things that are going on every week related to ACCSP, which is always a good reminder for those of us at this level. And I think the reports you've been putting out about committee activities are pretty helpful, just to see at a glance what all is going on. And it allows people to dive into the things that are more interest to them and useful to them without necessarily occupying time here. So I think that's been a good effort that you guys have put into that. Certainly helps us. So Julie, do we have any questions on things so far? If not, Jeff, did you have anything else to add?
I think we're set, Maya. If you move one slide forward, it was just our opportunity for questions. And we'll look for hands from Julie.
Yeah, I do have a hand from Bob Beal.
Okay, Bob.
Thank you, John. Yeah, since we have time, and would it really be a coordinating council meeting if I didn't chime in about my nervousness about future funding? So I feel obligated to do that. I think looking forward, as I think I call it the funding bottleneck in the future of, continued administrative support and, the main project for lobster reporting coming back to us next year, most likely. We cobbled together money for the help desk this year, and we hope the help desk expenses are a lot lower next year once the whole suite of 6,000 vessels kind of gets up to speed and is able to use all the tools and they know how to do it. But, the help desk is something that I'm concerned about, in that we have to find money to fund that. And there's really only two sources. One is coming out of the general funds available for ACCSP, which will likely mean less money available for maintenance and or new projects, or it has to come out of the admin grant, which causes problems as well. Or, we knock on the door of the federal partners and they maybe find some money to help us support that. And I'm not being critical of the federal partners. It's just, that help desk is really to support federal initiatives from the councils and some of the electronic reporting initiatives. It's completely consistent with the direction of ACCSP, and it's a good thing. But, I just want to keep my placeholder out there for kind of concern over future funding. And we're going to have some potentially tough decisions in the next couple of years on what the priorities are and where the funding that's available should be, where it should go. So not really a question, just sort of my on the broken record on financial worries.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thank you for that. And, we did talk about that some at the management group meeting. I forget officially what we call ourselves, but yeah, I think everyone should be aware that next year could be pretty tough. And I think all of us here know is depending on what budgets do in the future, a lot of things may get pretty tough. So this year we've been able to pull off everything. As Bob said, next year might be a bit tougher. So we just need to be prepared for that.
I have a hand now from Cherie Patterson.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Cherie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What would be the benefit to having projects include help desk work in their budget to support the help desk, especially when it pertains to these upcoming improvements to reporting and such? Would that be helpful? And I know it's literally just taking money from ACCSP in the general pot, but it still kind of holds those projects that are going to be needing a large support from the help desk initially to kind of offset some of the just general help desk budget on an annual basis. It would just help support it during these tough times. And I agree. I think lobster reporting is really going to be a big pull for the help desk coming up. Just a thought. Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I wonder, Jeff, if maybe that isn't something to be considered by that funding group and sort of routed up through the ops committee and others along the way. I think I see the point there of sort of keeping that with the project that's initiating it, avoids having some great big lump sum as we're dealing with now.
Thanks, John and Shuri. I very much appreciate that, and these are things that we've been struggling with. The thing like the help desk is a multi-partner, multi-project need, and its growth has been offered up as one of the things that goes with the ACCSP reporting tools, and yet I'm thinking more of making that its own ranked proposal for awareness instead of putting it only inside of the admin grant. But these types of trade-offs are what we'll be working on between now and your May meeting to provide a little more clarity on what the future tracking is and the potential approach to putting that into to creating the admin grant. What is the staff support in the admin grant? What are the trade-offs with the help desk? Because it's difficult to put that into individual projects when those projects might be short or long-term funding, but the help desk really supports every partner using SAFES in kind of any way. Right now that's focused on the trip reporting side, but this year we'll be making changes to the dealer reporting side as well. So those are certainly on the table. I had been planning those items more for preparation for your May meeting.
And Cherie, your hand is still up. Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Jeff, now I understand that the help desk is going to be something that's necessary into infinity with the program. My thought was if somebody is going to be presenting a proposal like we're expecting through the lobster reporting program, to have them include some help desk support because of the uptick. That's all. I'm not denying that the help desk is going to need to have stability funding. But when there comes a time when we know there's going to be a surge, it'd be nice to have that written, in my mind, into the proposal to help with the surge. Thanks.
And Mr. Chair, I have another hand from Kathy Milton.
Okay. Jeff, I want to see, did you have any follow-up to that? It sort of sounds like to me there's potential for two ways to look at this. And, one which sounds like there's support for is definitely getting the help desk out of the general admin grant and looking at it. And then I think, Cherie's talking about including some of that initial surge that you anticipate from any new program as part of grants. And I think it'd be good to have our other committees look at both of those avenues.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. As with all things funding, a multi-pronged approach is usually what's best.
All right. Thank you. So, Kathy?
Hey, good morning. Jeff, I'll be really interested to hear more from you in May about a possibility of pulling the funding out for the help desk to possibly be ranked on its own. First blush of thinking about that, that seems like that would be very difficult to rank it, in that it's kind of like how we have the component in like the plus 2 points or whatever it is for metadata. When people specifically talk about how they're planning to handle metadata, it's just like an addition to being within a proposal. Again, just hearing this for the first time today and thinking about it, I really like Cherie's suggestion to start thinking of ways for proposals to concentrate on their needs and how to build that in, because I think it would be exceedingly difficult to rank something like the help desk, because like you say, it helps every partner. So I'll be really interested in hearing about that. I know you've given it a lot more consideration and want to hold my mind open to hear the point. So that's a very, very cool thing to start thinking about. Thank you.
I now have a hand from Lynn Fagley.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. And Lynn, up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is going to be a great conversation in May. And I just, I'm not asking this question for an answer now, but just maybe my understanding is not quite complete. But if a project was to place budget for the help desk within its own proposal, the question kind of becomes, the projects are on this step down. So if they've got help desk need in their project and then they get stepped down, and at a certain point, they're not going to, it seems like at a certain point, as those projects phase out, where the help desk is going to get, going to fall flat again. So, that's sort of one of the dynamics that I wonder, how that would all work.
I have a hand from Richard Cody.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Thanks for that, Jeff. I think you're getting some good feedback on issues to be addressed for May. So, Richard, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo, I think, Lynn's sentiment there. I think that we would have to give careful consideration to the makeup of the proposals. And we have, some changes coming where some of the maintenance proposals are dropping off the radar for a year or so at least coming up. And so we might end up in a situation where the help desk funding could be very variable from year to year depending on the makeup of the proposals. And then I would imagine also that some states might have some thoughts on how much they use the help desk at this point, and that, you know, relative to other states, they may not use it quite as much, and why should they be penalized, you know, as part of the proposal? So I think there are a lot of considerations for the May meeting.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Richard.
Mr. Chair, Lynn's hand has been re-raised.
Okay, Lynn, come back around.
No, I'm just confused. I'm so sorry. I did not mean for it to be up. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. We always struggle with this. You see it as a green arrow, you think your hand's up, but it tells you what your hand's doing. I mean, what your hand can do, not what your hand is doing. It's kind of weird that way. So no worries.
I have no other hands this time.
Okay, Jeff, does that conclude our business?
Yes, sir.
All right. Does anyone have any other business to raise before the council?
Mr. Chair, I have a hand from Sarah York.
Yes, all right. Go ahead, Sarah.
I just wanted to ask about the project partner grants for the ones that are underneath in the second table that says includes carryover from maintenance projects. It does go into a deficit at the end of those, but those ones are also being funded.
Yes,
It's more of a question than additional business, sorry.
That's all right. Sarah, can you go up? I think it's just one slide. Sorry, Maya. There we go. The item in red in the middle that says includes carryover. So if you look at the top of the screen, the split between maintenance and new is a 75%, 25%. And so if 1,044,496 is not used for maintenance projects, then any remaining does move down into the new projects in the lower half of the screen. And the all the projects would be funded at this point. The actual timeline for distribution would be up to NOAA Grants Office, but only one project, the Rhode Island Economic Efficiency, would be funded not at $61,384, but at $5,000 less than that, so $56,334.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have no other raised hands.
Okay, I was just going to ask. Thank you, Julie. So seeing there's no other business before the committee, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for letting us get through this very efficiently this morning.